Things going on the past week, and after the tragic event, he was extremely supportive by giving me calls and soothing me, and all of you guys that were in the wreck. So, just wanted to briefly talk about exactly what happened during the events. I mean, you always think about, or you always hear about these in the news, but you never really think about, oh my God, it's going to happen to me, right? And then I felt like I was, close to that, and I felt my friends being really close to that tragic situation, and it really made my heart drop. It pretty much melted in my stomach. You guys know that feeling when that happens sometimes. So to start off, Brisa, actually, she was right there. She was planning a trip to see the beautiful poppy flowers. I'm not sure if you guys know about the poppy flowers, but they are kind of like part of the spring bloom. So because of all these rains, we got a huge variety of different colorful flowers that happen north of Lancaster. And she was really excited to see them, and she was organizing a huge trip for a lot of other people that were interested too. And I know so many organizers in my life, and Brisa is like one of the best organizers ever. And like the way the trip was organized, the food, the people that are going to be in the car, the people that are not going to be in the car, it was like very well planned and well organized. To the extent that on Saturday morning when I was supposed to go, I thought I was going to be late, and I was kind of worried about it. So I was driving fast to make sure that I arrive in time and they're not mad at me, and things like that. So driving, and then I see going through snow-capped peaks, and I'm thinking today could not be a more perfect day. And I make it all the way to the visitor center, almost to the visitor center of the Antelope Valley Reserve for the poppy flowers. And when I was there at the visitor center, there was heavy traffic. It was so hard for me to even park. But I saw the poppy flowers around me, and then I was thinking, oh my God, when we're all together, this is going to be some of the best times in our life. And then right at that time, I get a call. And I get a call from a person named Radhesham. He's right there. And he says, did you hear about what happened? And then I said, no, what happened? And he was like, we're in a terrible car accident. And then I was like, are you joking or serious? And then he said, no, this is dead serious. So then I was like, I thought, when you think of a car accident, you'll think of like a fender bender or something like that, right? So I didn't know what to do at the moment, because he said he'll send me the address. He sent me the address, but I did not have any internet connection for me to even get there, because he was waiting at the wreck and I wanted to pick him up. So thankfully, another party also came separately. Their names were Arjun and Surbi, and you've probably seen them at Montrose. They come to Montrose sometimes. And they were there before us, and I called them up, and then I asked them, can you help me? And then they were really shocked to hear what happened. They said, all right, let's go. Let's help these people. And I was so happy and grateful that I could have friends to count on like that could help me in the time of need, and also help others in the time of need when I really needed them, because I really wanted to go and do whatever best I can to help everybody. So they had internet access, and we drive for some time, and then I go to the wreckage. And to be honest, I've seen several different car wrecks in the freeway. And this has been by far the worst I've seen. The car was pretty much crumbled up, literally, if you think of a car and a van and then you crumble it up, that's how it looked like. And you see musical instruments like this harmonium is broken everywhere, and then you see people's shoes, and then even books, hardcover books, bent. And just imagine the amount of force that was there to make those things happen. And it's really nothing short of a miracle that everybody thankfully survived that. There was another car that was involved too, which didn't see the stop sign, which is why all the events took place. And then I saw Radhesham there. And Radhesham was there surrounded by all these police, firemen, and things like that, investigating what happened. And he was in a very meditative state. And I was thinking, okay, he wasn't complaining. He wasn't he wasn't oh, what happened? Why do these things happen to me? He was just with his beads. Sometimes spiritual practitioners, they do, we just did kirtan. Sometimes spiritual practitioners, they also chant on beads. So he was just meditating to himself on what realizations he learned. So I picked him up, and he was so grateful to the fire department that he also offered them Bhagavad Gitas. And I was thinking to myself, like, how is it possible? Like, you're such in a state of shock, and you're still thinking about how best you can serve everybody that was grateful for you. And I really, really appreciated that value that I've seen in Radhe Shyam right there. So give him a big round of applause. So then I picked him up, and we decided to go to the hospital where most of our friends were. And 2 of them were in critical conditions. One of them was his fiancée, and thankfully her surgery went really, really well yesterday. So we went to the hospital, and it was like almost like a war scene. It's just this time, all my friends that I know very dearly were there in the lying in the bed. And then one person over in that hospital had a serious critical injury with like 8 broken ribs and things like that. And he actually played Mridanga once at Madras. His name is Kamal, and he's still recovering. So my full hopes and prayers for him. But there were also several others in the wreck that were there that I knew really well, including Brisa, Asta. You guys might know Nakula, Madhumangal. They were all there lying in their beds, and I just went there, and then I pretty much saw a scene where, regardless of the circumstances, they were still in good spirits. They were still in good spirits. They were sharing what they learned from the accident. Normally, when you think of some tragic things, would be complaining. We're like, oh, why did this happen to me? But they were in good spirits, and also they were compassionate. I tried to serve and helped out to the best I could. So, I had some vegan food that I was giving out, and also Arjun and Shrivi also had their own food that they were giving out. But when I went there, Brisa was like, oh, why don't you give it to Asta? I think she's feeling more pain than I am. And then Asta, when I was giving her the food, she was like, I want to know what Nakula is going through. Because at that time, I didn't know he was in the same hospital. And she was like, no, I don't want to eat right now. I want to know if he's okay. So they were really, really compassionate and concerned for others as well. So I was thinking to myself that, these people, they really exemplified a term in Sanskrit, which is known as sadachar. Can you guys say sadachar?
Sadachar.
Yeah. So sadachar means character. Now it doesn't mean just character. It also means that no matter what the external circumstances are, we really, really hold on to those values that we cherish with integrity. We don't lose them when bad things happen to us. And that's what I saw over there. And pretty much even Kamal, the person with the broken ribs, he went there, he had his thumbs up, smiling, and then said, this is all meant to be, and I'm learning great lessons from this. And then I said, I hope I can share something to you, but I know you're in a condition which I just can't help you at the moment other than just being here. So I said, I have a joke to tell you. Hopefully that'll help you or get back in spirits. And then I said a joke that you guys probably don't understand, but it's a joke that we could relate to. And then he starts laughing from the bottom of his heart, and then he says, "Please don't tell me any more jokes. It hurts when I laugh." So I could feel the heartwarming, heartfelt connection that I had with these people. And I remember that in Thanksgiving of last year, I gave a talk on gratitude. How many of you guys were there in that talk? Nice, a few people. So in that talk, I talked about how it's important to have gratitude, to feel thankful for what we have, because the more we feel thankful for what we have, the more we feel like we want to make a difference in return for everything that we have, and serve to the best of our capabilities. And the more we're thinking, well, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Then we become more self-centered. And the ability to make that difference greatly diminishes. And I've also talked about how most people, they do feel gratitude when good things happen to them, but only really, really advanced transcendentalists feel gratitude even when bad things happen to them. So why is it that when bad things happen to them, we feel gratitude? So I was sharing this to some of the people there, and they said, I'm extremely grateful for one thing, that they were all alive. And just looking at the wreckage, it was actually like, I was pretty much shocked that they were all alive, but in a good way. I was deep down happy that they were all alive. And the other thing was that they said that they were also grateful for the fact that this incident made them feel like this is like a wake-up call. Like, yes, let's try to learn as much as we can from this incident. And pretty soon we're going to have some people that will probably share what they have learned from this incident. So, also when I brought the lunch, people's their necks weren't moving; they were kind of immobile. So I tried to feed them because they were not able to eat themselves. And it was like a really, really good experience in and of itself. Although there was a lot of suffering, I never felt such heartwarming connection ever in my life before. And then one of the persons, Asta, actually, before I was feeding her, she said, Raju, did you ever feed anybody in a hospital before? And then I said to her, I've never fed anyone before. So it was like, the different things that I've never done before, and doing it itself really gave, although there was a lot of suffering, deep down inside I felt a big connection. And I have to tell you that knowing these people for a long time, my relationship with them has never been stronger or more meaningful, and it will continue to go stronger. And the realizations they shared really made me confirm the fact that these people were the finest people that I've ever met. So without further ado, we're in the wreck right here. There's Brisa over there that has a cast on her leg. And then there is Patsy over there. There's Radhesham. And then there's Madhu Mangal, who came in just not too long ago. Am I missing anybody? And I think that's about it. So with the next couple of minutes, I would like to see if you guys could share what you guys learned. Anybody want to share? Yes?
There's how much do you really need? Life is very simple if you make it simple. And for me, I felt like before this accident, I had a lot of different plans and things that I was trying to do, and where am I going to live, what am I going to do for work. I was planning a lot of different things. I was going to move, but now I've just decided I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be with Shamli and help her recover. She broke her spine. She didn't have her seatbelt on. So, but we're very thankful that she's living. She's in good spirits. She's smiling. She's walking. She just got a surgery. And I'm just realizing though that even though this world is actually a place of misery, that the purpose of spiritual life is not to focus on the suffering and how terrible certain things really are. People are dying constantly. Car accidents. On my way here, I drove on the 405 and there was a crash, and I was thinking, wow. Now it's not impossible for me to imagine something crazy to happen at any moment. Like you can literally lose your life at any moment. That's been my realization. But I've been realizing that spiritual life is to learn how to love properly and how to use everything we have now to uplift the entire society, to uplift others and bring others out of suffering, bring others out of the condition that we're in within these bodies that are so fragile and temporary. And yeah.
Thank you, Radhesham.
Can we talk about this?
Yes.
Something I realized is that we're not really in control of so many things, and that accident was meant to happen. Had any detail changed, I think that somebody wouldn't be here with us today. So despite it being a very scary situation that had to happen, I wouldn't have changed it at all, because I think I don't think we would all be here. And so that suffering, that scariness, it kind of awakened my like Raju was saying, my deep love for everybody in that band. Because the second we started to roll, I just thought, I hope nobody here like leaves this planet today. And the second we stopped rolling, we were all on it. We were like, are you okay? Where's that person? Where's this person? Let's get out. And until we knew where everybody was, even though we were separated in like 4 different hospitals, it was all about each other. And I don't think any of us were concerned about ourselves. And so it just really awakened how deep my love is for everybody, and how I just, like, my happiness depends on their happiness, and my health depends on their health, and I will always make sure that everybody here is good, because I don't think I will be unless they are. Yeah. That might not make sense, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
And to add to the intensity of the crash, like, I mean, the first thing is, as soon as it stopped, we rolled twice. The van rolled over 3 times, something like that. It felt like 6 times to me. But I was just chanting, first of all. I actually just, the first thing I started chanting. But when I was going on my head, though, my first thought was, anybody dead? Because it was that bad. It was just like, I was like, okay, somebody's probably dead right now. And I was just looking around, and I was like, oh my God, where's Shamli? Shamli's my girlfriend, by the way. And I was just like, where is she? Because she wasn't sitting next to me anymore. And then I saw her moving. I was like, oh, thank God, you know. But really intense.
Yeah, it really brings a higher perspective to our outlook on life, doesn't it? And actually, not just the day before the accident, I bought myself a whiteboard just so that, I could, write my thoughts and, schoolwork, work, and things like that, just organize them on the whiteboard. I remember when I was building the whiteboard, the wheel of the whiteboard, it broke. So then I was thinking, oh, why does this always happen to me, It's like every time I buy something, something's always wrong with it. But, after experiencing what was experienced on Saturday, like all of that, I was like, why am I so stupid, worrying about like all the little things. Yes?
I'd love to share and just expand on this and say thank you all for this community and holding this space and the momentum every week, the cycles that you have been coming together has been creating the momentum so that we could all be here now. And we are here now, we're together, and we have this opportunity to like raise the vibration and send that light to our soul brothers and sisters who are in need of light and healing, and for you Divine Reflections who are here now to receive that healing. And I'd just like to share that on the 6th, when all of this occurred, the energies were really intense. There was a lot of energy shifting, and simultaneously while that was occurring, we had community healing happening as a parallel, as a contrast. And there was hundreds of people that came out together in the spirit of community and healing at Elysian Park in Los Angeles. And the event almost got shut down, but in our spirit of unity, that whole community of hundreds of people came together to focus on healing while this was taking place. And we found out about this event afterwards, but everyone experienced what they needed to experience on that day. But it's important to remember that these experiences come into our lives to teach us something, and to allow us to shift our perspective, to allow that growth. And our lives are temporal, but our spirits live forever. And when we come together, when we focus on that vibration of light, we can heal together. And with that being said, my name is Rahim. I'm from the East Coast of Canada, and I love this community. I just want to extend my gratitude and thanks. Like, every time I come to LA, you all show me so much love, and I'm grateful to be a part of this Mantra House family. And I'd also like to share that there's a Mantra Life gathering in Toronto. So like, this is a worldwide thing, and this community is connected worldwide. And what we offer in the Cosmic Blooming Healing Network is healers worldwide. So I'd like to offer our services complimentary, like as a gift, as an offering to everyone involved, to you and to you, brother. Like, we're willing to offer our healing services and our community, like anything that we can do to be of service to you and support you through this time. Like, we're here for you.
Thank you. Thank you. So you pretty much talked about what I was going to talk about later, but that's good. So yeah, we're almost actually out of time, right? But I did note down some points, which yes? I did note down some points, which I felt like were important lessons that I've learned. So I can definitely go over them, and if you guys allow me, maybe we can go a little over time. But so the first point that I really cherished was one of the questions: what is the most precious gift that we have? Anybody take guesses?
Our life.
Our life, yes. And I was thinking about some other answer, but that's a good answer.
Oh.
Time. Sorry, each other, yes.
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Time, yes. Time was the one that I was thinking about, because if you lose a moment in your life, no matter how much gold you have, no matter all the wealth in this universe cannot buy back that moment. So it's important that we utilize every single moment of our lives in doing something meaningful and purposeful. And of course, materialists and spiritualists, they both have different interpretations on this. Materialists can probably understand this statement and then say, oh, that probably means that because time is short, we just got to enjoy our lives as much as we can and not have to worry about any of the deeper meanings or anything like that. In essence, it seems like at first glance, it seems like that's a good solution, but there's some problems with that. Anybody would like to share what the problems are? Sorry? Yes?
Just that it'll become very empty really fast.
It will become very empty really fast, because the nature of matter is that it's fleeting, it's temporary. You can't really get complete happiness out of matter because it's very temporary. Anybody else? Yeah, pretty much. Like, all the material happiness that we get is what in Sanskrit it's known as chapala sukhi. Chapala sukhi means any sort of happiness that is fleeting. So we chase after that, we work so hard for that, but it never satisfies us. It might give us some flickering happiness. Even for people that are, that use, like, they're at a higher level, that use our artistic abilities or intellectual abilities for getting happiness out of that. And that's all very good, that's all really very well and fine, but unless if we try to understand the nature of the self, we won't get fully satisfied from that. So a spiritualist, within the time that he has, he tries to use it wisely to try to understand the nature of the self. And I remember that during the accident, I was with the people in the hospital. And although there was a lot of suffering in the hospital, I could see that because they were very, very well spiritually situated, deep down inside the suffering, they were more happy than even the wealthiest people of Beverly Hills. And I could really, really see that within themselves because they had a higher spiritual understanding. So you might think, so how do we invest our time in spiritual matters? So how do we invest our time in, understanding what self-realization is? So self-realization actually has two factors. Anybody say these two factors? Gyan and Vairagya. Gyan means knowledge, and Vairagya means renunciation. Renunciation means trying to be aloof from all the temporary things that happen in this world. So a spiritualist tries to strive for these two aspects. So within Gyan means knowledge, but Vijnan is a subset of Gyan, which means transcendental knowledge. So a spiritualist tries to understand Vijnan. And why is it important to get knowledge? Because any practice that we do, whether it's in bhakti yoga and spirituality or even in school, if we don't understand why we do what we do, we won't really feel motivated. So it's important that we cultivate knowledge. And how do we cultivate knowledge? By reading spiritual literature. Like, Christian has like a huge array of books out there. So please take lessons from this incident and definitely check out some of our books outside. And also by spiritually minded association, like all of you guys at Mantra House, we can get good knowledge. And also hearing. So those are different ways in which we can get knowledge. And the yoga texts, the Bhagavad Gita, have their own interpretation on the nature of matter, the nature of consciousness, and our relationship with matter and consciousness. So in the spiritual literature, it is said that consciousness and spirit is different from matter because of three important details. Is that consciousness consists of Sach, Chid, and Ananda. Sach means it's everlasting. It doesn't go away no matter what happens to the body, no matter what happens to the world around us. Chid means it's full of knowledge, it's aware, it knows its constitutional position. And then Ananda means everlasting bliss. Unfortunately, material elements do not contain these three things, which is exactly why when we try to gain pleasure out of material elements, it all fails. And the yoga text in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, which means that that matter itself is full of misery. I mean, if you think about it, like in your body, let's say we look at this finger right here, the pinky finger. How much pleasure can this give us, pinky finger? Not so much. A lot. Well, in one sense, yes.
Yes, a lot.
Yes.
If you are awake,
If you are awake, yes. But for a materialist, pinky finger might not give a lot of pleasure. But how much pain can it give if you're not awake?
A lot.
A lot, right?
A lot.
Yes. I think the pinky finger itself could give a lot of pain. So the material world is not really designed for a place of like everlasting happiness. So sometimes incidents like this really make us wake up and realize that there's a more important, more essential practice that I have to follow. So we learned about theoretical knowledge, but you can't really gain much out of it unless if we apply it in our lives. Just like, for example, if we have like integral calculus or differential equations, for example, you just read about it on the textbook. It's like, yeah, I understand it, but you won't really be familiar with it unless if you practice it. So in Bhakti Yoga, the type of yoga that we follow, there is something called knowledge, and then there's something called realized knowledge. Knowledge that occurs after we practice. So how do we actually get in that mood of spiritual awareness? So I'm going to talk about a little text from the Bhagavad Gita, and if we have time, I can probably talk about it.
Yeah, like 5 minutes.
Sure. So there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita called Yoga Yukta Visuddhatma Vichitam Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kuru Varn Apina Lipyate, which means that if we dissect this verse and understand what it's really trying to teach us, it's in Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, text 7, I believe. It teaches us that in order to be spiritually minded, we must do what's known as yukta. Yukta means good work. But it doesn't stop there. So, whatever position we're at, whether we're like an artist or philanthropers or philosophers or scientists, we try to do good in this world, or monks. We try to do as much good as we can. But there is a verb before yukta in this text that means yoga yukta, which means do it as a yoga. Yoga means to reconnect, or to do it as, for the right reason. Of course, they say yoga is the right reason, but why is it important to do good things with the right reason? Why can't I just do good things? For example, let's say that there's a person on the beach, and then somebody was drowning in the beach, for example, and then this person didn't get any inspiration to save that person initially, but then he sees teenage girl somewhere, and then he says, okay, if I save that person, then I would look really good in front of her, and he saves that person, and then brings it back, and then brings it back to the shore, and you might think, yes, you did a great job saving that person, but you didn't do it for a good reason. What's the problem with that? Why is it that we have to do good things for a good reason, other than just do good things? I mean, the same act has been done, right? Anybody have any guesses?
well, the intention's different.
The intention is different, but why does it really matter, the intentions? The act, you saved the child, right? You had your hand up, Rodney.
Well, I was going to say, later in the Gita it says only by undivided or unmotivated service can spiritual life or real love of the Supreme be attained. So that'd be my guess.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, and definitely the text, it says that. But in this particular example, let's say, what would happen if he didn't do it for the right reason? It is because, let's say during another time when another situation happens like that, and this time there is no girl that he wants to show off in front of. Now would he be inspired to do the same thing? Because he wouldn't do it. Because he did it for a wrong reason. So to actually do good things and maintain Sadachar, the character that we have, and with integrity throughout whatever circumstances that we're in, we must do it for the right reason. And in this text, it is said that we must do yoga yukta, which means do good things, but for the right reason. What is that right reason? Bhakti yoga. Yoga means to reconnect. And what are we trying to reconnect to? It's said before that I mentioned that the most essential part of us is Sach Chit Ananda, it is spiritual. So we're trying to reconnect to something, the supreme spiritual. So it's just like a fish out of water. If we try to really give the fish as much food or something like that as it wants, it's not going to be happy unless we put it back into the ocean, right? So similarly, as spiritual beings, we must try to reconnect to the supreme and and devote ourselves to it. And pretty much when we connect ourselves with the supreme, we might be thinking, what is it that, what happens to the other people? Does that mean that we remain aloof from the world? That's not necessarily true, because we are connecting ourselves to the most deepest and fundamental way possible. We can also connect to other people, other than just giving them food and giving them shelter. That's all good, but we can actually give them yoga, and then that actually makes their lives fully happy and fully satisfied. So through this devotion, how do we actually perform it? How do we do that? So it is said that in the ancient yoga text, devotion is like a little seed, and we try to water that seed. And how we water that seed, it's a process called sadhana. Can everybody say sadhana? Sadhana. Yes. Sadhana means having a spiritual practice. It's not just, okay, I think I'm spiritual and everything is cool, but it's actually practicing. Because without practice, we can't be in that mindset all the time. Like one of the spiritual practices that you guys just did, and we'll do in a couple of minutes, or even the next minute or so, is called kirtan. Kirtan is music meditation. And then we also do our own personal meditation. And we do reading. And through that, we can water our seed so that it grows. It grows into the best extent. And then as we continue the text, it says that person will develop a pure soul that can conquer his senses, jitendriya, which means to conquer. And then it says, sarva bhutatma bhutatma, which means that because we connected to the root cause of everything, we are compassionate to all living entities. That's what it means by sarva bhutatma bhutatma. And then kuru varna nalipyate, api nalipyate, which means that although we're working in this world, we won't be of this world, and we won't be entangled by all the stresses and distresses that come up. So in order to do that, we must have a good, strong practice of sadhana. And it also said in the Bhagavad Gita, there's also something that talks about the summer and winter seasons. Just like summer, it's like warm, nice, and everybody's happy. And then in the winter time, it's like people are cold, depressed, and most of them, but I'm more a winter person, but they all come and go. Similarly, in this world, there's temporary pleasures and pains that come and go, and the true yogi tries to be aloof from them. And of course, that doesn't mean that we don't see suffering, and we don't suffer as well, but we try to get the effective essence of everything. And of course, the other thing that I learned real quickly is that, I'll end in a few minutes, is that obstacles are actually very, very helpful for both advancing and getting a higher perspective in life. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a queen, and 5,000 years ago, and she says, I pray for obstacles to come, because when obstacles come, I actually remember the Supreme even more. So that doesn't mean that we pray for obstacles to come, but when they do come, we really use them as like a wake-up call, and we're grateful for that to come, because they only make us stronger. And one of the last things that I want to talk about, and which I realized, was that the next day after the accident, I was with Brisa, Asta, and Harsha. Harsha you probably don't know because he just came from Australia, who was also in the accident. And we went to our friend's place, Abhijit and Priyadarshini, who wholeheartedly in a warm way, welcomed their home to us. And that next morning, we were chanting. And the chanting, when we were doing it, we were not doing, I don't remember a better time when I did chanting with that much feeling than the time when I did at their place. And it was really, really heartwarming, because through obstacles, we can really strengthen our spiritual relationships and make them more meaningful and more deep.